Picture this. I'm standing at the edge of a world so vast, so untamed, that it feels like I've stumbled into a painting too grand to be real. The air is sharp, slicing through my jacket with a cold that's almost alive, whispering secrets of ancient ice and forgotten shores. I'm Madison, 31 years old, and as I grip the icy railing of this colossal cruise ship, I can't help but wonder if I've sailed into something bigger than myself, something I'm not ready to face. I've been married to Andrew for 6 years now. 6 years of building a life that, from the outside, looks like a neatly framed photograph. Comfortable, predictable, even enviable. We've got a cozy little house in the suburbs, 2 steady jobs, and a rhythm to our days that should feel like harmony. But beneath the surface, there's a quiet discord. A series of small, jagged arguments that pile up like stones in a riverbed, slowing the flow of us. It's not the big fights that wear you down. It's the silences, the unspoken words that hang heavy in the air when we're in the same room but miles apart. We've been drifting, and neither of us knows how to steer back to shore. Andrew, with his easy charm and restless energy, thought a getaway might be the fix. "Let's reset," he said one night over dinner, his voice bright but his eyes not quite meeting mine. "An Alaskan cruise, glaciers, fog, the whole deal. It'll be like starting fresh." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that the raw beauty of this place could stitch up the seams we've let fray. So here we are, boarding this floating city of a ship, its decks sprawling with promise and possibility. The first day is a blur of excitement as we sail out of port, the shoreline shrinking into a thin, distant line until it's swallowed by the horizon. The ocean stretches endlessly before us, a sheet of dark glass rippling under a sky that's more gray than blue. I stand on the deck, letting the cold bite at my cheeks, feeling the thrum of the ship's engines beneath my feet. It's exhilarating, this sense of leaving everything behind, even if just for a week. Andrew's already off somewhere, probably scoping out the onboard casino or charming a group of strangers at a cocktail mixer. That's him, always chasing the next thrill, the next laugh, the next distraction. I don't mind, not really. It gives me space to breathe, to wander, to let my thoughts unravel as I stare into the water's depths. I'm not alone for long, though. As I stroll along the upper deck, taking in the sheer scale of this vessel, I meet Bianca. She's the ship's yoga instructor, and the moment I see her, I'm struck by how she carries herself. Perfect posture, like she's rooted to the earth even on this swaying ship. There's a calm about her, an aura that seems to soften the harsh edges of the world around us. I can still see her standing there, the wind tugging at her ponytail as she handed out flyers for her morning yoga classes. Her smile was warm, inviting, like she could see right through the weight I've been carrying. I tucked the flyer into my pocket, not sure if I'd go, but something about her lingered in my mind as I walked away. The first few days on the ship unfold like a strange, disjointed dream. Andrew dives headfirst into the onboard entertainment. Spending hours at the blackjack tables in the casino, I can hear his laughter echoing down the corridors when I pass by, louder and more carefree than I've heard in months. He's in his element, surrounded by new faces, swapping stories over whiskey tastings with passengers who hang on his every word. I watch him from a distance sometimes, marveling at how easily he fits into any crowd, how he can light up a room without even trying. But when I try to join him, to bridge the gap between us, it feels forced, like I'm an outsider in his world. One morning, I suggest we watch the sunrise together from the deck, hoping for a quiet moment to reconnect. He barely looks up from his coffee, waving a hand with a casual, "Maybe tomorrow, Mads." Tomorrow never comes, though, and I'm left standing alone at the railing, the sky blushing pink and gold without him by my side. I find myself retreating more and more to the upper deck, bundling up in my thickest coat to brace against the biting wind. Up here, the fog rolls over the dark, churning water like a ghostly veil, and the silence is so profound it feels like the ocean itself is holding its breath. I stare out at the endless expanse, feeling smaller and more alone than I ever have. There's something about the vastness of it all that mirrors the emptiness inside me, the growing chasm between Andrew and me that I don't know how to cross. I pull out my journal during these moments, scribbling thoughts I can't say aloud. Words about longing, about wondering if this trip was a mistake, about questioning whether we can ever find our way back to each other. The pen scratches against the paper, the sound swallowed by the wind, and I feel a strange comfort in letting those unspoken things spill out, even if only to myself. But it's not all solitude and heavy thoughts. One morning, I decide to take a chance and join one of Bianca's yoga classes on the deck. The air is crisp, carrying the salty tang of the sea, and the sound of waves slapping against the ship's hull is a steady, grounding rhythm. Bianca's voice cuts through the morning chill with a soothing clarity as she guides us through poses, her instructions calm and precise. Breathe in, feel the stretch, let go of what you're holding, she says. And for the first time in days, I feel my shoulders loosen, my mind quiet. The deck sways gently beneath us as I hold a pose, my muscles trembling just a bit from the effort. Over the next few days, I keep showing up to Bianca's classes, drawn not just by the promise of calm, but by something in her presence that I can't quite name. We start to chat after each session, small conversations at first, about the best spots on the ship to watch the glaciers, or how the cold seems to seep into your bones no matter how many layers you wear. But soon, those talks grow longer, more personal. I find myself lingering on the deck after everyone else has left, just to hear her thoughts on the world, on the way the sea seems to strip away pretense and leave you raw. There's an ease with her, a connection that feels both unfamiliar and dangerously comforting, like stepping into a warm room after being out in the frost too long. One evening, after a particularly grueling yoga class that left my body aching in all the right ways, Bianca catches me as I'm rolling up my mat. Most of the passengers are off at some formal dinner in the grand dining hall, the ship buzzing with the clink of champagne glasses and the murmur of polite conversation. I'd skipped it, not in the mood for forced smiles or small talk, and apparently neither was she. "Hey, Madison," she says, her voice soft but carrying over the sound of the waves. "I'm heading up to the deck for a bit. Want to join me?" Just to unwind, no pressure. I hesitate for a split second, knowing Andrew's probably at that dinner, charming someone new over a glass of wine. But the thought of being alone in our cabin feels heavier than I can bear. So I nod, and we make our way up to the quietest part of the ship, where the world feels like it's just the two of us and the endless ocean. The night air is biting, sharper than I expected, and I wrap my scarf tighter around my neck as we lean against the cold metal railing. The ship's lights cast a faint, golden glow across the water, making the dark waves shimmer like liquid obsidian. I can feel the chill of the metal through my gloves, grounding me as we talk. Bianca asks me about my life back home, about what brought me here, and before I know it, I'm spilling things I've kept locked up for months, maybe years. I tell her about the distance between Andrew and me, how every day feels like we're speaking different languages, how I'm starting to wonder if we ever really knew each other at all. Her laughter, warm and unguarded, cuts through the cold, and it's like a lifeline, pulling me out of the fog of my own thoughts. We talk about dreams, about the kind of freedom you only feel when you're out here, untethered from the shore, where the rules of land don't seem to apply. I'm surprised by how much I share, how easy it is to let the words tumble out under the weight of her steady gaze. And then, in the quiet of that moment, something shifts inside me. I'm looking at her, really looking at her. The way the dim light catches the curve of her cheek, The way her eyes hold a kind of understanding I've been starving for, and I realize I'm feeling something I shouldn't. Something I've never felt before. Not like this. Not for a woman. My heart starts racing, pounding so hard I'm sure she can hear it over the sound of the sea-gilt claws at me, sharp and relentless. Because I'm married. Because I'm supposed to be fixing things with Andrew. Not standing here on a deck in the middle of nowhere, feeling this pull toward someone else. But when her hand brushes mine as she points out a distant star, accidental and fleeting, it's like a spark ignites under my skin, and I can't deny the heat of it, the way it lingers long after she pulls away. A few days later, during a private stretching session, she offered to help me with some lingering back pain from an old injury. That feeling intensifies into something I can't ignore. We're in a small, quiet room off the main gym, the hum of the ship's engines a steady backdrop to the tension building inside me. I'm lying on the mat, following Bianca's gentle instructions to ease into a stretch, when her hands guide my shoulders, her touch firm yet careful. It's professional, I tell myself, just part of the session. But my skin prickles where her fingers linger a moment longer than necessary. I catch her eye as I turn my head slightly, and there's something there. Something unspoken that makes my breath hitch. Her gaze cuts through every wall I've built, seeing the parts of me I've hidden even from myself. I mumble a quick thanks, sitting up to break the moment. But my heart is hammering, and I know she can sense the shift in the air between us. After that day, it's like a silent agreement forms. We start meeting after hours, slipping away to the quiet corners of the ship where the world feels like it belongs only to us. Sometimes it's the empty lounge, the plush chairs and dim amber lighting creating a cocoon of intimacy as we talk about everything and nothing. Other times, we end up near the closed pool area, the deck lights casting long shadows over the still water, reflecting our silhouettes as we sit close. Sharing stories, I tell her about my childhood dreams of adventure, how I used to imagine sailing to the edge of the world, and she shares tales of her travels, her voice painting vivid pictures of far-off places I've only seen in books. One night, under that faint glow, she teaches me a breathing exercise to calm the nerves that seem to buzz under my skin whenever I'm near her. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, she murmurs, her voice a soothing rhythm. I follow her lead, our breaths sinking, and it feels like we're connected in a way that goes beyond words. When we finish, she smiles, a small, knowing curve of her lips, and I feel exposed, like she's unraveled something I didn't even know was tangled. There are moments that linger in my mind long after they pass. During one of our late-night talks, she helps me stretch out a tight muscle in my arm, her hands guiding mine with a precision that feels almost tender. Our fingers brush as she adjusts my position, and neither of us pulls away immediately. The contact is electric, a quiet thrill that sends warmth rushing through me, even as guilt gnaws at the edges of my thoughts. I try to focus on her words, on the way she explains the mechanics of the stretch, but all I can think about is how close we are, how easy it would be to close that last inch of space. Her eyes, sharp and searching, seem to pierce right through the defenses I've spent years building, and I wonder if she knows. If she feels it too, I catch myself staring too long, then look away, my face burning despite the cold night air seeping through the ship's corridors. Meanwhile, things with Andrew are crumbling in ways I can't ignore. I'm barely present when I'm with him, my mind always drifting to those stolen moments with Bianca one afternoon. He comes bounding into our cabin, his face lit up with excitement, waving a small check from a lucky streak at the casino. "Look at this, Mads, $500. We gotta celebrate. Drinks on me tonight." His enthusiasm is infectious, or at least it should be, but I can barely muster a smile. I nod, muttering something about how great that is, but my voice sounds hollow, even to my own ears. He doesn't notice at first, too caught up in his victory, but as he keeps talking, rambling about the hand that won it all, I can tell he senses something's off. My responses are clipped, my eyes unfocused, and I'm fidgeting with the edge of my sleeve, desperate to escape the weight of his gaze. Later, as we're walking to dinner, he stops me in the hallway, his brow furrowing with concern. "Hey, you've been kinda spacey lately. Everything okay?" His tone is casual, but there's an edge of worry in it, and my stomach twists. I fumble for an excuse, the words tripping over themselves as I blurt out, "I'm just tired, Andrew, really. It's been a long few days, adjusting to the ship and all." My voice wavers, and I can tell he's not entirely convinced, but he nods slowly, letting it drop as we continue to dinner. But inside, I'm a mess, torn between the life I've built with him and this pull I can't shake. This thing with Bianca that's been growing in the quiet corners of my mind. I know I'm on dangerous ground, but I can't seem to step back from the edge. That night, after dinner, I lie awake in our cabin, the gentle rocking of the ship doing nothing to soothe the storm in my chest. Andrew's asleep beside me, his breathing steady, oblivious to the chaos I'm wrestling with. I keep replaying every moment with Bianca, every look, every touch, and I know I'm standing at a crossroads I never expected to face. The next day, when she texts me on the ship's messaging system to meet her at the closed spa area after hours, my heart leaps into my throat. I know I should say no, should delete the message and pretend it never came, but instead, I find myself typing back a quick, "Okay," my fingers trembling as I hit send. When I arrive at the spa area, the air is thick with steam, a warm, heavy blanket that clings to my skin the moment I step inside. The soft, amber lighting casts long shadows across the tiled walls, creating a dreamlike haze that feels both intimate and surreal. The silence here is eerie, a stark contrast to the constant hum of activity on the rest of the ship. It's like we've been cut off from the world, suspended in the middle of the ocean, with no one else to witness whatever happens next. My sneakers squeak faintly on the damp floor as I move deeper into the space, my nerves buzzing like live wires under my skin. I can barely hear the distant sound of the ship's engines over the pounding of my own pulse. Bianca is already there, standing near the edge of the empty hot tub, wrapped in a white towel that contrasts sharply with the deep blue of the tiles. Her hair is damp, curling slightly at the ends, and she looks so calm, so composed, while I feel like I'm unraveling with every step I take toward her. She turns as I approach, her smile small but genuine, and it's enough to make my stomach flip. "Hey, I'm glad you came," she says softly, her voice cutting through the stillness like a warm breeze. I manage a shaky nod, clutching the strap of my bag like it's a lifeline, unsure of what to say or even why I'm here. We start talking, keeping it light at first, almost like we're both testing the waters. She mentions a funny story about a passenger who slipped during yoga class that morning, and I laugh, though it sounds forced even to my own ears. But as the minutes tick by, the conversation shifts, growing heavier, more real. We sit on the edge of the tiled bench near the steam room, the heat seeping into my bones, loosening the tension I've been carrying for days. I find myself opening up about the loneliness that's been gnawing at me. Not just on this trip, but for months, maybe years. I tell her how I've felt invisible, even in my own marriage, how I've been longing for something I couldn't name until now. My voice cracks as I speak, and I stare at the misty air in front of me, unable to meet her eyes. She listens, really listens, in a way that makes me feel seen for the first time in forever. Then she speaks, her tone steady but laced with a vulnerability that catches me off guard. "I've felt that too, Madison, that ache for connection, for something real, and I've felt it with you." Her words hang between us, heavy and electric, and my breath catches in my throat. I turn to look at her, and her eyes are searching mine, raw and unguarded. I'm trembling now, not from the heat, but from the weight of what she's just admitted, and from the realization that I feel the same way. That moment in the spa, with the steam curling around us like a cocoon, marks a line I've crossed, one I can't step back over. What happened there, in the quiet heat of that forbidden space, is a secret I've buried deep, a weight that presses against my chest every time I try to breathe. I left that room feeling like a different person, someone I don't recognize, someone who's capable of shattering everything I thought I knew about myself. And now, as the morning light creeps through the cabin window, I'm lying next to Andrew, the man I've promised my life to, while my mind is 1,000 miles away, replaying a night I can't undo. I wake up to the soft sound of his breathing, steady and peaceful, completely unaware of the storm raging inside me. The cabin is still, the faint hum of the ship a constant reminder of where I am, trapped between the life I've built and the truth I've uncovered. Andrew stirs beside me, his arm draped lazily across the sheets, and as his eyes flutter open, he flashes that familiar, easy grin. "Morning, Mads. Hey, let's do something fun today. How about some pictures? There's a glacier coming up soon, towering, icy, the whole postcard vibe. It'll be perfect." His voice is light, full of an excitement I can't match, and I nod, forcing a smile that feels like it's carved from stone. I mumble a quiet, "sure," as I sit up, the sheets slipping off my shoulders, the cold air of the cabin biting at my skin like a reprimand. We bundle up and head to the deck, the morning air sharp and unforgiving, slicing through my layers as if it knows I don't belong here, pretending everything is fine. The glacier looms ahead, a colossal wall of ice that glitters under the pale sunlight, its surface a maze of jagged edges and deep blue crevasses. It's breathtaking, the kind of beauty that should steal your breath and leave you in awe. But all I feel is a hollow ache. Andrew sets up his phone on a small tripod, gesturing for me to stand near the railing. "Come on, babe, smile. This is once-in-a-lifetime stuff," he calls out. His enthusiasm a stark contrast to the numbness spreading through me. I position myself against the backdrop of that towering giant, the icy blue of the glacier reflecting the coldness that settled in my bones. I force my lips to curve upward, but my eyes betray me, empty and distant as the shutter clicks. Andrew doesn't notice, too busy checking the shots, laughing about how we'll frame one for the living room. I nod along, my hands gripping the railing so tight my knuckles turn white, the metal's chill seeping into my palms like a warning, standing there, with the glacier's fractured surface stretching endlessly before us. I can't help but see it as a mirror to my own reality. Those visible cracks in the ice, worn by time and pressure, are so obvious, so undeniable, yet the real fracture, the one between Andrew and me, is invisible, hidden beneath layers of smiles and routine. It's a chasm that widened in the steam of that spa, a split so deep I don't know if it can ever be mended. I haven't told him what happened, and I don't think I ever will. How could I? How do you confess something that would shatter the fragile foundation we've been clinging to? But keeping this secret is like carrying a stone in my chest, heavy and unyielding, dragging me down with every step I take beside him. The rest of the cruise passes in a muted blur, each day a struggle to keep up the facade. I avoid Bianca as much as I can, steering clear of the deck where her yoga classes are held, skipping the sessions I once looked forward to. If I see her in passing, I keep my head down, my heart pounding with a mix of longing and shame, hoping she doesn't try to speak to me. I can't face her, not after what we did, not when every glance threatens to unravel the thin thread of control I'm clinging to. Instead, I turn away, letting the distance between us grow, knowing that some things are better left unspoken, and some connections, no matter how deep, are best left in the past. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.